Hey folks, welcome to Hank's True BBQ. So I did build a few more pits. As you build them, you'll find improvements and things that you can do better. So I did quite a few of those. Wanted to give you a quick showcase of what's happened since the last few builds. Also, we're going to fire these up so you can see how I build the fire in these. Many different ways, no way is correct in that sense, but I'm going to use charcoal today to get a good coal bed. But let's first start out by taking a closer look at the different models. So we have the reverse flow model and the normal flow model. This one is slightly more even in temps, of course, due to the construction. This is more traditional. Which one you prefer? Drop a comment down below and let me know. Either way, the surface treatment, as you can see, is rather, I like that rough style, just the raw metal. But in order to have this not rust, I cover it in oil. I use canola oil. I'm going to show you how exactly, but that means we're going to fire it up, and that's going to react with the heat, of course, and harden and form that nice tough surface so it can be outside in the winter. I think it works really well, and you can always add on to that every second or third cook if you need to. But let's get this. I've oiled everything but the smokestack, so that's what I'm going to do now. So I just use regular canola oil, put a dab of oil on the cotton cloth or anything, and just get a good layer on there. Thin, but still make sure you cover all parts. As you can see, it's quite easy, but it really helps, and also it darkens the color of the metal. That of course has nothing to do with cooking capabilities, it just looks nice. Starting with the Firebox, I don't think I made too many changes. This is basically standard, but this is good enough so I don't need to modify it. I tweaked the handle just a bit, just to make it, well, feel better, I guess. Still the same hatch here, so you can just position it at different positions. Again, it really helps if you have it, like if you're making a fire or building a fire where it's really windy. But typically I have it running in the first or the second position or slit right there, and it works quite well because you get air through the logo, so that's nice. And you have fireproof bricks in the bottom to add thermal mass, which is nice. But moving over to the food chamber, here's the smoker with a nice wooden handle just like before, but the thing I'm really happy with is getting a big dial thermometer in right here. Really nice, rock solid, gives you a good reading. Of course, speaking of thermometer, you can always run your own thermometer inside, because depending on where you place the food, you might have to do some readings way over here also. Now, in order to get your thermometer probe in, I used to have drilled a hole here with a bolt in it so you could remove it. But now I came up with a smarter idea to not only get more probes in, but also easier. So you can see here, there's a small slit right here. We're going to take a closer look at that. Because after all, it's a big food chamber, so I had this laser cut, which makes a lot of sense, because the thermometer here is reading on this position, but you may want to check temps up here or way over here, and then it's not going to be accurate for obvious reasons, plain physics and thermodynamics. So I want to get my thermometer in, simply slide it right in here. Then there's a few millimeters gap in between the lid, the door right here, so you see it fits perfectly, doesn't squeeze your cable or break it, and as you can see, you can fit quite a few more in. So real nice improvement, makes it a lot easier because you don't have to thread the cable all the way through. While we are looking inside it, of course, you have still the same easy access water pan. Slides out real easy. It's not resting on the grates, so you can pull these out any which way you like without affecting the water pan. Now, as for thermometer and measurements, I get this question from some of the people who bought it, to say that, well, this thermometer in the lid gives me one reading, but the one I have over here by the food is giving me a different reading. Which one should I trust? Well, always trust the thermometer which is closest to the food, because that's the only one that's going to give you an exact reading. And the thing is, even though the smoker measures a perfect temp, I'm not this one, but like any smoker would theoretically measure a perfect temp all the way across, as soon as you place food in here, the air is going to hit the food and move in a different direction. When you redirect airflow, you're going to change temperature zones. So it's kind of impossible to have the smoker full of food and have a perfect temp all over the place. So as always, place the thermometer clip right where the food is, and then you know what temp it's cooking at. Another thing I added, which is super convenient, is a good old handle, so you can pull this around. Really helps when moving it. It's quite easy to grab the Firebox, but in this end you want a good sturdy handle too, so I put that on. Now looking at the reverse flow model, of course we have the thermometer on the opposite side, right before the hot air exits into the smokestack. But inside I changed the baffle also, that redirects air. Let's take a quick look. I'm gonna pull this out so you can see. As you can see, by the way, the water pan is right over here on the left hand side, right where the air turns around and before it goes all the way over. Now I did pimp this one up straight quite a bit. There's some nice handles as part of the sheet metal. It's quite thick, 5mm also, but when measuring, even though it's pretty darn close to perfect temps all over the food chamber, this spot right here is the coldest by a few degrees, because hot air goes underneath it, turns around and comes back, and you know, hot air rises. So right here was the coolest spot, so I did add a few holes just to compensate, kind of tweaking. But I'm a bit of a perfectionist, so I think it made a nice difference. And this one, just like before, you can pull it out, remove it quite easily for cleaning. Looking at the end, I put the handle on here too. Of course it's just mounted flat on the end of the food chamber, but still same easy. And down here you have the same sturdy lockable casters. These swivel, the two in the back are fixed. The drain, the bucket for saving up grease, and this one's always open. And the reason for that is, even if you leave this out in the rain's just gonna fall all the way through. So nice and easy, very little maintenance. I got myself a chimney full of briquettes, no sorry, charcoal, and we're gonna get that in to get the fire started. As you can see, I'm starting with kindling and split. As you can see, the fire is catching on quite nicely. I'm gonna add a few more logs in here, but I'm gonna take a while to get this one up to temp because it's quite a bit of metal to warm up. This is a nice way of starting it. I usually don't use charcoal, as you've probably seen in my previous videos, to start the fire. The reason I did it now is just to, well, first of all try it, but also it's gonna give me a slightly more even temp in terms of, just like you do with a water pan in a kettle, it's gonna even out just a bit. But there's not enough energy in the charcoal itself to get this smoker up to temp, so that's why I'm using real firewood. But again, now you have a good coal bed, you can throw in a log or a split every now and then and just maintain the fire. I kind of like the precision. I guess I'm a stickler for precision when it comes to building a fire and also maintaining a fire. It really means that I have to spend more time right here behind the firebox, but I don't mind. It's kind of a nice thing to do in your spare time. Monitor the fire, keep the temp as even as possible. But again, there are many ways to build a fire. Do whatever works for you. As you can see also, I'm building the fire all the way in this case. It's typically because I'm used to smoking food in a colder climate and having this air buffer in between when I close the door like that. It helps me build and maintain a more even temp, because cold air coming in gets just a few seconds to warm up before it hits the fire. So that's why, I mean, some people have commented that the firebox is long. There you have it. This is the reason. Again, all practical. I've spent a lot of time tweaking every single detail on this smoker. So you know, if you buy it, you're going to get a top-notch, rock-solid smoker that's going to last you years and years. So the fire has been burning for 10 minutes now. Look at this. This is a sign of a well-constructed smoker, because you can see the flames are leaning in. That's because you have a good enough draft that pulls air through, which is just perfect. And now we have a good fire going. I'm gonna add some thicker logs. I'm going to show you the smokestack now. The other two, which are coming up to temp, they're still smoking a bit, but this one's burning very clean. And now I can run it with the door like this, which is just perfect because wind won't affect fire one bit, but still we have plenty of oxygen coming in. So the right one here, you can see it's squeaky clean. Just because I added the log right now, you can see the smoke is getting just a bit thicker, but it'll clear out in a few minutes. I have the second one, which I started just now, so you can see before the hot air has found its way through, it's still smoking a bit out the back. And there's the reverse flow getting up to temp. Not quite that clean smoke, but give it a few minutes and we should be up and running. So how long do you usually need to get these up to temp? Well, I typically let them run for a good 45 minutes. Then you know all of the metal is warmed up, and that's going to improve temperature maintenance. Basically, when the whole smoker is warm, it's going to give you more even temps, and even the smallest split you add, you can see that it changes the temperature curve. And that's the type of precision I like when cooking, so that's good. Or in that case, if you drop in a bigger log. Alright, I hope you enjoyed the video looking at these smokers built in Sweden. They're about as honest as the day's long, and they're real good smokers, so head on over, check them out if you have the time and the space for one. I call it a backyard smoker, and it is a backyard smoker, but it's still 1.5 meters long, plus another foot, 30 centimeters. But it's a nice addition to your backyard. It's going to produce really good food as long as you maintain a good fire, and that's it. Quite a piece of equipment to have, and it beats all those thin sheet metal grills. This is a real deal. Alright, I'm going to keep maintaining temps in each tree, get that oil to harden on the surface so it's good and ready to be outside all year round. But I'll see you guys next episode. Thanks for watching.